What's going on, guys? Gamer Dude back once again, bringing you some more informative gaming news. But before we begin, y'all know the routine, or at least I hope you do by now. If you are new to the channel, please make sure you smash that like button and drop me a subscribe, because it would just be your good deed of the day. Same applies if you are a returning viewer. Now then, in this video, we are going to be talking about Sony and its future plans for future acquisitions. Now, as you may or may not be aware, after the recent purchase of Activision Blizzard from Microsoft, Sony have been on the warpath when it comes to acquisitions. In this video, I'm going to be diving into what this means for PlayStation, where it could go, and what plans for the future PlayStation may have for their acquisitions. Now, as I mentioned, following the acquisition of Activision Blizzard, the industry could change in several ways. Further consolidation is expected, with gaming giants like PlayStation pursuing various acquisitions of different scales just to keep up the pace to avoid them losing any more revenue. Now, PlayStation is also hiring a manager responsible for identifying and carrying out its future acquisitions. What this means, we don't know yet, but if they're hiring someone to take care of it, then it means PlayStation has got big plans in mind in its future for what they want to own. The console wars may indeed be back on. Now, why does this matter? Well, PlayStation will have fewer studios than rivals like Xbox after the Activision Blizzard merger is cleared, because the only game remaining on PlayStation after that Activision Blizzard merger, as far as we know, will be Call of Duty. So games like Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, all gone. Which is unfortunate, considering Crash Bandicoot started out as a PlayStation exclusive. But let's not dwell on that, let's move on. But yeah, it would seem that the gaming giant does hope to even the odds with its future acquisitions. Now, I do have the job listing in front of me, and I will read it to you now. Sony Interactive Entertainment, SIE, seeks a highly qualified candidate for the position of manager, corporate strategy and development integration and acceleration. The corporate development and strategy team works closely with SIE's leadership team to identify and execute inorganic growth opportunities through its acquisitions, investments or joint ventures that are aligned with SIE strategic priorities and drive significant long-term value for the company. Now, that's just the job listing. And basically, the job listing lays it all out for us. You know, there's really no need to dive into a mystery on this. Sony are looking to even the odds. You know, they are looking for some major league payback and major league revenge on Xbox for doing this and cutting Sony out of the loop. Now, that's not to say Sony will die off. You know, it's not to say the PlayStation will die off, because PlayStation still has some banger exclusives. Spider-Man, God of War, Uncharted, and you know, there's plenty. You know, we're not at a loss for games when it comes to PlayStation. That's just to name a few. But this does provide us with evidence that PlayStation is looking out for studios and publishers that are close to going under, or just want to be sold off. You know, they want to earn more money. Now, previously, Sony raised its acquisition budget to $13 billion. While all of this is not reserved for the gaming division, because, you know, they're doing movies now too, the new budget could allow PlayStation to carry out its biggest merger in its industry's history. Since the job listing highlights inorganic growth opportunities, studios that have not partnered with Sony in the past could be considered potential acquisition targets. So that could go from anything, because plenty of games have come out that have not been available to Sony. They've gone to Xbox exclusives, PC exclusives, even ones in the past, that Sony had no part of or Microsoft had no part of. There could be Nintendo games for all we know. But, that's just me theorizing. I really doubt Nintendo would sell anything off to Sony. I'm just theorizing there. That was just an example. But yeah, previously Square Enix was believed to be among the major acquisition targets by Sony, which would make sense because Square Enix is another big publisher, and for Sony to get their hands on it, it would leave Microsoft in a bit of a wedge, let's say. But the publisher has recently announced a new partnership with Xbox, which could also be potentially hinting that Square Enix is not looking to be acquired, and in fact Microsoft could indeed be looking to acquire it. But PlayStation has acquired studios in the past, such as Insomniac Games and Bungie. These have proven highly successful. I don't even need to tell you how successful they've been. If you're a PlayStation gamer, you know this. But with the former leading development on various first-party titles and the latter bringing an ongoing live service title, might be the best way for Sony to go in the future. I mean, I'm not a fan of live service stuff, but if they do acquire all these new things, live service might be the best way to go, just to keep other services included, so they can keep Microsoft in the loop, they can keep PC in the loop, and go from there. But since live service is a massive focus for the gaming giant moving forward, not too happy when I found that out. Sony are looking to indeed move forward with live service games and look at that for their future. So yeah, I love Sony. I've been a Sony guy my whole life. I've even got a Sony phone. I've always had Sony phones. But if they go live service, like completely live service with all their future games, I may have to let them go. Ugh. But yeah, anyway, we could be looking at another Bungie situation, which would aid other first-party studios with their ongoing live service projects. Nonetheless, PlayStation is expected to announce multiple acquisitions in the coming years. And aside from PlayStation, companies like Tencent continue to invest in the industry. Tencent did recently announce it would become the majority shareholder of Techland. That, of course, is the studio behind the Dying Light franchise. Similarly, yeah, you get what I'm saying. I can't pronounce that word. Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard is expected to be cleared after negotiations with the CMA. And PlayStation is looking to ensure it doesn't get left behind in the current trend of mergers in the industry, but it looks like Microsoft are definitely screwing Sony over with this particular acquisition. They're saying, right, we'll let you keep the one that earns the most money from the franchise, which is Call of Duty, and yeah, we're gonna butt fuck you with the rest of them. When a lot of those titles began as PlayStation exclusives, they're just gonna screw them over and be like, right, you had it for a while, now it's ours. Screw you. And that's a bit of a dick move, in my opinion. But there's plenty of news to come in the future when it comes down to it. Like I said, PlayStation is not going to die. It's never going to get to the point where people are just like, meh, I don't want to do this anymore. People are always going to be fighting over what console's best and what games are best and what console has the better exclusives. But when it comes down to it, it's your personal opinion. You're entitled to it. That's the free world and whatnot. So it's really nobody's choice. If someone tells you to get an Xbox and you're like, well, no, I'm getting a PlayStation, and then they start fighting with you and falling out with you over it, then that's just petty and pathetic. So it really shouldn't come down to things like that. It should really come down to what you want. You know, screw what everybody else says. It's your personal opinion, your personal choice. It's your money, so why should they get a say in what you're going to do with it? But yeah, so that is probably about it for the video. That's all I could find on this at the moment. But it's safe to say that Sony are going to be doing a bit of a revenge buy on the market, thanks to Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, which again is a dick move. But yeah, I think that's probably a video for another day. So anyway, that's it for this video then. So I want to thank you all for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. Stay tuned for future content from me. I'm sorry it's been a little bit dry as of late. It's just there's not much going on in the gaming world that I can report on at the moment. And I don't really have any new games to live stream. So it's just been a little bit dry, and I've still been a little bit busy sorting everything out after my recent move. But I promise you, I'm back. I'm not going anywhere, even if the content's a little bit dry. So yeah, once again, y'all know the routine. If you are new to the channel, please make sure you smash that like button and drop me a subscribe, because it would just be your good deed of the day. Same applies if you are a returning viewer. So that being said then, this has been Gamer Dude. Happy gaming, and I will catch you all in the next one, guys.